Hey everybody, welcome back to the farm. This week we're going to be finishing up the wash rack, and I'm going to give you an update on a few of the projects that I've worked on in the past couple of weeks. I've been sick, under the weather. I had an upper respiratory chest sinus phlegm thing going on for the last week, but I feel a lot better now, but I felt like garbage pretty much all week long. And an interesting thing happened out here this week. We had a skywriter out here, and he was writing to someone special, so I want to show you that as well. I caught it at the last second, and I was on the tractor and didn't know he was up there, but anyway, I still got it, and that'll be pretty interesting to show you. We have a community airport about a mile and a half as the crow flies. They've got a sailplane club there, and they have a parachuting club there. And we're on the south end of the runway over here. And they're always using my farm, it seems, to do a lot of their altitude climbing. So when they're doing the sailplanes release over the farm, so I get to see them all the time. And then when they're doing their parachuting, they'll climb out over the farm. And then when they jump on the north end of the runway, then he'll turn back to the south and drop down out of the sky over my farm, and you'll hear him falling out of the sky because you can hear his engines, you can hear the RPM increasing as he's going. And then the guy next door has a grass runway. He has 4 airplanes over there, and they're constantly flying in the evening, doing a lot of sunset flights. So we have a lot of general aviation flying over the farm, and we have a Black Hawk Army unit not too terribly far away, and they'll transition through the area, but they're typically at altitude 1,500 feet or so, or higher. But it's neat to have all that general aviation around. So in a little bit, I'll show you what this guy did with the skywriting. But let me show you these projects that I've been working on first. First update I want to give you is on the scratching post. It works great. It's pretty hard to see, but right in this area right there, there's a bunch of dirt, red dirt, where they've been rubbing. It only took them about a week to find it, not even a week. But when I pulled in one day, Joy was rubbing on it, just going back and forth on it. And then I saw Chief doing a drive-by. He'll just get walking and just scrape his body on it. I've seen both of the Percheron babies backed into it, but I haven't seen them actually physically using it. But you can hear it. I've been out here at night for like the last 3 nights, out till like 10 o'clock at night, and you can actually hear them bumping into it and stuff and scratching on it. So they like it. It works out real good. The next thing's the water trough. It's working great. It's draining beautifully. You see I've got everything painted black and everything's filled in. And it's watering the trees wonderfully. And then lastly is the electric fence. They touched it one time. That's all it took for them to learn that it was there. I've touched it 3 times, and every time I touched it twice, which I told you about last week, but I touched it one day this week. When I pulled in, Joy was up here all by herself, and I walked over to her to talk to her, and she and I were just having a moment. We were both deep into thought, and I was scratching her face, and everybody else was leaving us alone. It was just she and I, and it was a really nice moment. And I let my arm get too low, and it laid right up underneath my armpit, the wire did, and it shocked me. It shocks you right through your clothes. It's amazing. And all I can hear is Fred Sanford on Sanford & Son talking to Lamont saying, "You big dummy." And I say that to myself every single time. So I've done it 3 times, so hopefully 3 times the charm, and I won't do it again. I was finally able to pick up a frost-free faucet. This is a 1-foot bury depth. You can get these in 1-foot bury depth, 2-foot bury depth, 3-foot bury depth, depending on what part of the country you live in, depending on where your frost line is. But basically the way these frost-free faucets work is when you pull this handle up, this brass rod comes up. There's a plunger on the bottom down here, and it pulls that plunger up. When it pulls that plunger up, it allows the water to enter right here. So when you close this valve off, obviously the water stops, but there's a weep hole right down here on the bottom, and all of the water in this standpipe leaks out of that weep hole and leaks back into the earth. And when it does that, there's nothing in this pipe, because you know the top 2 feet is going to be exposed to the atmosphere, so that's what's going to typically freeze, is what's in here. But because it all leaked out through that weep hole, it's now frost free because it's buried below the frost line. So to get this thing connected to your water line, you just get a 3/4 inch threaded adapter, PVC. This one just happens to be 1 inch on this end. And you just screw it into the bottom of your faucet. Once you get this screwed in, then you can just use standard 1 inch PVC pipe and fittings and tie it into your existing water line. Here's the Bose installed. It's 3/4 inch conduit, bent on a slide arc. And I just pipe strapped some 3/4 inch elbows on the side. That's all the pitch we need to support it and keep it from sagging and to shed the water. I want you to look at this shade curtain I got. Terracotta. And look at that, is a perfect match to the barn. Now the faucet's in, all the gravel's down. Got the mats down. Farrier was here night before last and we trimmed everybody up. We trimmed them right here. Worked out great. Got the sunshade up. Doesn't fit exactly right, but I didn't build this to fit the tarp. The tarp was just an afterthought, but it does exactly what it's supposed to do. It's scalloped on the sides and scalloped on the ends, so it kind of, it kind of bows in, but it's fine. We're not using this for any type of protection other than just shade in the heat of the summer. Now I'm going to show you what this Skywriter was doing. Well, I figured he was done after he did the heart, so I got back on the tractor and started going again. When I got off the tractor, I looked up and this is what I saw. He was saying, "You're my special." Next week, I'm going back up to Ohio for a week to spend a week with the Amish. I'm going to visit the Mid-Ohio Draft Horse Sale. I'm not going to buy anything. I'm just going up there to witness it and see what it's all about. I'm going to visit a few more Amish shops, and so that's going to be a pretty interesting trip. I'm going to stay in an old hotel from 1847, so I ought to have some pretty good video content for you next week. Should be time to make hay again when I get back. Should make twice as much as we did in the spring. Well, guys, that's going to do it for this week. I appreciate you watching, and we'll see you next week.